Complementarianism is the belief that men and women have distinct roles and responsibilities within the church and society. This belief is rooted in the idea that God created men and women with unique strengths and abilities, and that these differences should be celebrated and honored. One of the key principles of complementarianism is the belief in the biblical teaching of male headship. This teaching is based on passages such as Ephesians 5 verse 23, which states that the husband is the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church. Complementarians interpret this to mean that men have a God-given responsibility to lead and serve their families and communities. This does not mean that men are superior to women, but rather that they have a unique role and responsibility in leadership. Complementarianism also affirms the biblical teaching of female submission. This teaching is based on passages such as 1 Peter 3 verse 1, which states that wives should submit to their husbands as unto the Lord. Complementarians interpret this to mean that women have a God-given responsibility to support and assist their husbands in leadership. This does not mean that women are inferior to men, but rather that they have a unique role and responsibility in supporting and encouraging their husbands. It is important to note that complementarianism does not discriminate against women. On the contrary, it values the unique contributions and strengths of both men and women. Women are encouraged to use their gifts and talents to serve and lead in the church and society. They also have an important role in decision-making process in the family and the church. Complementarianism also promotes a healthy and balanced understanding of gender roles. Men and women are equal in value and worth, but have different roles and responsibilities. This understanding can lead to a more harmonious and fulfilling relationships between men and women, as well as within the church and society. In conclusion, complementarianism is a belief system that values the unique roles and responsibilities of men and women. It is rooted in biblical teachings and promotes healthy and balanced relationships between men and women, both within the church and in society. Rather than promoting discrimination and marginalization of women, complementarianism affirms the value and worth of all individuals and encourages them to use their gifts and talents to serve and lead in the church and society. There are a number of efforts that are attempting to contradict the view of complementarianism, which asserts that men and women have distinct roles and responsibilities within the church and society. These efforts argue that this belief system is based on a narrow and rigid interpretation of certain biblical passages, and that it leads to discrimination and marginalization of women within the church. One of the main efforts to contradict complementarianism is the promotion of egalitarianism, which asserts that men and women are equal in value and worth, and that they should have the same opportunities and responsibilities within the church and society. Egalitarians argue that the biblical passages used to support complementarianism should be interpreted in a more egalitarian context, and that they do not support the idea of male headship or female submission. Another effort to contradict complementarianism is the promotion of feminist theology, which seeks to challenge and change patriarchal systems and structures within the church and society. Feminist theologians argue that complementarianism reinforces patriarchal norms and perpetuates gender discrimination, and that it is necessary to reject these beliefs in order to achieve true equality for women. There are also efforts to change the practice of complementarianism within the church, such as ordaining women as pastors and allowing women to participate in leadership roles. These efforts argue that the exclusion of women from leadership roles is not supported by biblical teachings, and that it undermines the message of Jesus Christ, who taught about equality and love for all people. In addition, many individuals and organizations are actively working to educate and raise awareness about the harmful effects of complementarianism, and to promote alternative belief systems and practices that are more inclusive and egalitarian. In conclusion, there are a number of efforts to contradict the view of complementarianism, which argue that this belief system is based on a narrow and rigid interpretation of certain biblical passages, and that it leads to discrimination and marginalization of women within the church. These efforts promote alternative belief systems, such as egalitarianism and feminist theology, and practices that are more inclusive and egalitarian. They also actively work to educate and raise awareness about the harmful effects of complementarianism and promote alternative belief systems and practices that are more inclusive and egalitarian. Patriarchal systems, in which men hold authority and power over women and families, have been in place for centuries and are still present in many cultures and societies. Some argue that patriarchal systems are natural and necessary for maintaining order and stability within families and communities. In a patriarchal system, men are seen as the primary providers and protectors, and are expected to make important decisions and lead the family. This system also assigns to women the role of caregiver and nurturer, which is equally important. This division of roles and responsibilities can lead to a more harmonious and efficient functioning of the family unit. Additionally, patriarchal systems also provide clear lines of authority and decision-making, which can reduce conflicts and confusion. It also allows for a clear chain of command in case of emergencies, making it easier to take quick and decisive actions. Some individuals and denominations that believe in patriarchal systems may use the concept of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in the Trinity to support their belief. They may argue that the Father being the head of the Trinity, the Son being submissive to the Father, and the Holy Spirit submitting to both the Father and the Son, is an example of how men and women should relate to each other in terms of roles and responsibilities. They may see the Father as the ultimate authority figure, the Son as submissive to the Father, and the Holy Spirit as the helper and advisor, and use this as a model for human relationships where men hold the ultimate authority and women are submissive and supportive. This belief is not widely accepted among Christian denominations and theologians. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are distinct persons in the Trinity with their own roles and responsibilities, but they are equal in essence and nature.